This was Hitler's Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War. During their 9-month bombing campaign, the Nazis devastated cities and towns across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. London bore the brunt of the initial raids. But soon after, the Luftwaffe began attacking other industrial centres. I'm David Harewood, and in this programme I'm finding out why my home city of Birmingham became a target.
People genuinely thought that English society might end any day now.
I'll meet some of those who lived through the heaviest bombing of the war.
So this is actually one of the German incendiary bombs?
Yes.
I'll discover the personal tragedies that history often forgets.
And I said to my aunt, is that true, what I've just heard, that Mum and Dad are dead? And she just said yes.
And I'll experience a view of my city that will stay with me forever.
Where I grew up as a child was right in the heart of it, right in the middle of it, and it's quite fascinating.
I'm a Brummie and extremely proud of it. But like many people, I've never delved into my city's history. I've built an acting career appearing in dramas like Homeland, playing fictional characters often caught up in terrifying global events. But today's story is all too real, and it couldn't be any closer to home. I now split my time between London and LA, but for a few days at least, I'm back in the West Midlands. I'm hoping this journey will educate me about the past and reconnect me with my roots.
You know, I've obviously been back to Birmingham many times to visit my family, Mum or Dad, but it's strange really. This is probably the first time I feel as though I'm coming back to visit the city. I don't know if I've done that ever.
This is my kind of town.
I grew up in 1970s Birmingham, an exciting, confident place with its sights set on the future.
I found the city exciting. The modern buildings reflect its position as the nation's industrial powerhouse. You feel as if you've been projected into the 21st century.
The city has always seemed to be changing, developing, regenerating. Apart from the Small Heath district, that is. This area where I grew up has hardly altered at all.
It's really strange to be back in the place where it kind of all started. Actually, this was my house. This particular street, particularly this stretch of the street, was just full of kids around about my age, and we were forever playing hide and seek till midnight, the wee small hours. And one of the best places to hide was up there. So we used to basically kind of get up like this and make our way to the top of the wall and hide there for literally hours. Like 20 of us would just kind of cycle up to Small Heath Park and just play for all day long in the park. Just great memories of camaraderie, of friendship. You know, there were Irish kids, Indian kids, black kids, Jamaican kids, all just playing together. 28 bus, I used to get that to school. Interesting really, as a kid growing up, you know, I never really had a sense of anything other than this place just being, you know, just a great place to play. But God, there used to be this gorgeous girl who used to live, I think she used to live just opposite us. Absolute stunner. Can't remember what her name was. I think we'll stop right there. Stop right there.
Back to reality.
Happy times and innocent times. Like all kids, I lived in the moment, and I certainly wasn't interested in dull stuff like local history.
The city I grew up in was all about clubs, music, girls. I never really had a sense growing up of the war or the damage that Birmingham went through. My parents got here in the 60s. I wonder if they had any sense of the destruction that Birmingham had gone through.
Probably not. By then, Birmingham's population was changing rapidly, with thousands of new arrivals who had never experienced the Blitz, coming from the Caribbean and beyond, helping to rebuild Britain. Birmingham's town planners were also busy, clearing the bomb-damaged Victorian housing to create a new city for a new age. By the time me, my sister and my two brothers arrived, the Birmingham of the Blitz had almost disappeared.
Hi, Mum.
Still, the war had been over for barely 20 years when my parents pitched up in Birmingham. Surely they had some sense of what had gone on
Can I
here.
get a cup of tea? So when you arrived, was there any kind of physical evidence, any bomb damage, any...
Not in the 60s when I first came. We didn't get that. I mean, there were still remnants of what happened. Like when we live in Old North Road, remember? No, we didn't know what that was. But then we found out it was the remnants of a shelter in the back of the in the bottom of the garden.
Was there a sense that the city was on the up, or was it quite, as you say, it was quite poor?
It was quite poor, to be truthful. It was quite poor. I was surprised when I first came here to see that people were literally as poor as we were in the Caribbean. And most people lived in one room.
Not a whole house?
No, not like today when you have kids and you want a whole house. A lot of people lived in one room.
Well, it was lovely seeing my mum, but as I suspected, she didn't really know too much about the war. I guess coming here in the 60s, the Blitz really wasn't part of her story. So it's going to be really interesting for me to go on this journey to see if I really do have any connection to that part of Birmingham's history.
To find out, I need to go back to November 1940, when another Midland city, Coventry, was flattened by Nazi bombers.
Words are hopelessly inadequate to describe the horror and indignation felt all over the civilized world at this wanton devastation.
The Germans claimed this was revenge for the Allied bombing of Munich. But it also marked a shift in their tactics, widening the Blitz from London to other UK cities. Coventry's harrowing experience was broadcast around the world, but less well known is that Birmingham's turn came just 5 days later, with 3 consecutive nights of raids that also killed hundreds of people. Why did my city make it onto Hitler's target list? I'm meeting up with aerial archaeologist Chris Going. He has rare intelligence documents that the Germans prepared before the war started. And they show precisely why Birmingham had to be bombed.
The single most important factory here in the Small Heath part of town is this. It's the Birmingham Small Arms Factory. Close by, you've also got the Singer Works. Now, where are you on this?
I lived on a place called Old No Roads. It's right. Look, hang on, let's find it. But there it is. There it is. There it is. It's actually just at the end of the road. So I would have been almost smack in the middle of a target.
You're wedged between two of the most important industrial targets in Birmingham.
Astonishing.
It is.
Birmingham wasn't the only important industrial centre in the Luftwaffe's sights. As the Blitz went on, they attempted to bring war production to a halt by attacking Nottingham, Sheffield and Newcastle. But alongside Coventry, Birmingham felt the full force. Those first 3 nights of bombing left a trail of destruction, and the Nazis themselves took photographic evidence of their success.
This is the day after those attacks.
Wow.
A is the Störung, destruction. So got the Singer Works. Here's the BSA works. When this photograph was taken, which was on the 23rd, they'd still be bringing up the bodies.
It's astonishing to know that actually the house I grew up in was a target area for the German Luftwaffe. I had no idea about that.
It's the QFE 1005.
Now I've seen those German documents and photos, I want to view my city as their pilots did, So Chris and I have come to Wellesbourne Mountford Airfield in Warwickshire to fly the actual routes the Luftwaffe took back in November 1940. Our pilot today is Bill Giles.
Okay, is everyone happy, comfortable, secure?
Yes, Chris, secure.
All good?
All good.
Great.
Actually been flying quite a lot this year, but about this time on a 747 or whatever, I'm normally fast asleep. But taking off in something as small as this is really quite something. Fantastic visibility. Now I can actually start to see, if I'm not mistaken, Birmingham, right?
You can see Birmingham ahead of us. We're coming from the southeast. You can see the post office tower.
The post office tower. I had no idea just how exposed everybody would have been, but you really see that from this perspective.
Well, it's interesting you should say that. In December 1940, the Birmingham Post reported that the bombing of Birmingham was as random as ever. The bombs were so scattered across the city, they couldn't quite fathom what they were aiming at. There on your right is Small Heath.
Here we are, flying over the mighty Blues ground. What a gorgeous sight that is. Well, we're really going to fly directly over my road now, which is this road here, Old Know Road. You can see my house, I know exactly where it is.
And this is the Singer factory,
yes,
which was badly attacked in November. And there, that whole complex, just to the south of the railway line, is the BSA works.
We are a stone's throw from the BSA works.
You are absolutely seconds away.
I had no idea growing up just how surrounded my road was by Second World War, major Second World War manufacturing plants. You know, it's easy to feel quite detached from up here, I guess, you know, thinking as a bomber, to think that, you know, down there are people working in factories, working on things that really are going to, you know, destroy your countrymen. You're not thinking about people, you're just thinking about buildings, shapes in the dark. You'd probably just be thinking about your target. Get in, drop my ordnance, and get home to my loved ones. It's there's no personal feeling at all. You're just coming in, doing a job, and trying to get home.
So, I've now seen Birmingham from the point of view of the bombers. But what about those who were bombed? I've come to meet a survivor of the Blitz, Barbara Johnson.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Barbara was only 5 when the war started. She now visits schools talking about her experiences, and she has a treasure chest full of memorabilia from Birmingham's Blitz.
My God. So who would carry one of these around then?
The wardens,
The wardens.
or the ARP men.
So you would hear that sound,
Yes.
and everybody would run and
Yeah.
put their masks on.
I could put the gas mask on.
So this is actually one of the German incendiary bombs that
Yes.
were dropped.
The majority of times when they were burnt off, they lost the tail. But fortunately for me, I've got one hole. The sparks came out there and set fire to buildings. There's all holes and sparks would come out of there. This is a child's gas mask for under 5s.
Look at that.
And this one is for anybody over 5 and adults.
Issue to all civilians.
But we can't take them out of the plastic cases because there's asbestos in the bottom.
Oh, right.
So
Asbestos.
Asbestos, and we had them on our faces.
Barbara was among nearly 2 million British children evacuated when the war started, and one of 25,000 from Birmingham. The idea was to remove them from the area of danger and place them in safe havens. It didn't always work out that way.
Well, when I was 5, I went on the evacuation to Evesham with my sister. I was only there for a short while because I started wetting the bed. And the gentleman that we were there with, he used to get his belt off and used to lash my back of my legs.
What?
Every morning. And in the end he said I couldn't sleep in his bed anymore. And he put me in a cubbyhole on a bag of straw with a pillow and a blanket, and that's where I had to sleep, a 5-year-old. And my sister was 8. She was at school and she was able to write a letter home to Mum, and she put in there that we was being treated badly. And so in September 41, Mum came over to Evesham and fetched us back.
Like many evacuees, Barbara returned to the city just as the German bombing campaign was getting started. It was another unforgettable experience, for all the wrong reasons.
We were all down the shelter, and my dad didn't go to war because he got a bit of a heart defect from rheumatic fever. So we used to do fire watching. And he'd come and tap the shelter, and Mum got out, but she never used to leave us. And she never come back, and I thought, where's she gone? And then on the evening when Dad came home from work, when Dad came home from work, my mum sat us down and she said, Nan and Grandad had gone to heaven. She didn't say they was killed, she just said they went to heaven.
So do you actually have a picture of your grandparents?
Yes, I have.
Oh, it's up there.
There.
Right here.
That's the only one I've got. Louisa and Harry. She was 68, he was 72. But I feel as I was robbed of my grandparents. I love them so much.
You know, before doing this programme, I really didn't know to what extent Birmingham had been affected by the Blitz. So this has been a real revelation to me. I had no idea it was hit quite so hard.
Yes. Because of the situation that we made everything in Birmingham, Spitfires, bombs, you name it, we made it. But it's a shame that Birmingham was forgotten.
It's quite an amazing experience in there talking to Barbara. I mean, she obviously still feels deeply the scars of war, and it's strange really, I suppose, in the way I kind of decided to do this programme because I thought it could be interesting, but actually now I feel as though I'm doing the programme not just for myself, but for people like Barbara, giving her a voice, really. This journey into Birmingham's wartime past gets ever more fascinating. But no story on how the Midlands suffered during the Blitz is complete without travelling 20-odd miles east to Coventry. When I was a kid, getting the bus to here from Small Heath was as easy as going into Birmingham city centre. I know the place really well, but I've never seen it like this.
We're coming in from the angle that most of the bombers from the Air Fleet's Turn 3 would have flown on the night attacks. And the first attack, which took place the night of the 14th, 15th of November, was on Coventry. But the shock of this night attack and the destruction that it inflicted on the town really changed sort of regional mood as well as anything else.
On the 14th November 1940, it became a city of destruction. For 3 nights, the German bombers attacked in their fullest force. This introduced a new word into the vocabulary of mass murder, to Coventrate.
From this vantage point, it's obvious that most of Coventry's centre has had to be replaced. But to be honest, I couldn't see many pre-war buildings during my flight over Birmingham either. There's a definite feeling amongst the people I've talked to that whilst Coventry's suffering caught Britain's attention, Birmingham's experience was somehow hidden from public view. Is that true? And if so, was there any official reason? I'm at the BBC Birmingham newsroom to meet media historian Mike Temple.
The martyred city of Coventry. Amid the wholesale wreckage of a noble city, crushed by the force of hundreds of tons of bombs, the steeple of her one-time beautiful 14th century cathedral looks down on a scene of indescribable desolation.
I remember going to Coventry as a kid and seeing, you know, the destruction of the cathedral and reading about it. But I don't remember hearing anything about the destruction of Birmingham.
Well, many people didn't, because of course Coventry and London were the two cities that were highlighted, and you know the experiences of Birmingham were largely hidden behind a wartime censorship.
So was there official censorship? Because I was under the impression that the reason Birmingham wasn't reported was because they had Spitfires there, they had the BSA factory, they had all the munitions factories there.
Certainly Birmingham was a key strategic target for the Germans, a key industrial powerhouse, if you like, of the UK and of the Midlands. So that was an official reason, but of course another reason was not to spread fear and despondency.
So in a sense it was almost what you might call positive censorship, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It was not censorship in the sense that someone was standing over your shoulder all the time. There was a great deal of self-censorship as well.
These pictures from the northeast area give...
There we have a reference to the northeast area, an example of the sort of voluntary censorship that was taking place. Birmingham typically was described as a Midlands town. Manchester, the Manchester Guardian was not even allowed to report that Manchester had been hit. It was an inland town in northwest England. All this was supposedly designed so that the enemy wouldn't know how successful or otherwise they'd been. What we've seen is a massive destruction in Coventry, almost apocalyptic scenes of death and destruction. And if we contrast those pictures with the pictures from Birmingham, which don't have sound, we see a slightly different view of the world. So what we're seeing here in Birmingham is not images of death and destruction. What we're seeing is images of life will go on, if you like. The phlegmatic British population will carry on. They'll move house. They'll collect their water. They'll get by. These pictures are for different purposes. Look, Joey still survives. We will go on. The British way of life will continue.
Why would those pictures be broadcast like that?
It was necessary to create that myth, if you like, of the British people all together, of the fact that whatever Jerry threw at us, we could take it.
I had no idea that the way Birmingham's Blitz experience was reported was a key part of Britain's propaganda war. No idea at all. I'm nearing the end of my Blitz journey, but before I finish, I want to catch up with Barbara Johnson, who I met earlier.
Oh, wait, get up.
She's invited me along to chat to some of her friends from BARA, the Birmingham Air Raid Survival Group. What stories they all have.
How often did you have to go down into the shelters? Was that every night, every other night?
Went every night, because we lived up on the second floor, and of course when the raid started you want to be in your shelter as quickly as you could.
I mean, the noise of the bombs falling must have been extraordinary.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Can you remember that?
Yeah, quite frightening really.
So whose decision was it to go down into the shelters?
It was your parents. I mean, Mum used to leave our coats and shoes ready for us to put them on and run to the shelter as fast as we could. You know.
My mum made cocoa. She used to make 6 enamel jugs of cocoa, and we got my granddad's old box on wheels, and we used to go around with this box on wheels giving drinks of cocoa to the firemen. As we had some hard winters during the wartime, and in the winters I've even heard their sleeves crack because they've been frozen.
Like Barbara, Mary has some painful memories of her wartime childhood.
So my 2 elder sisters and myself, we were all evacuated.
You didn't get to choose where you went?
Oh, no, we just stood in a field, just in a big long row, and then people from the village just came along. Come on, you can come with me. Come on, you can come with me. And that's how it worked.
Did they never, and they never thought, you know, this is a family, these are
no.
three, these are two?
I mean, they didn't even ask our name. My two sisters went to other people, and I went to a lady named Mrs. Bree. That was terrifying, really, because, I mean, I was still only 5 years of age. And then one day, this gentleman stepped out of a car, and he says, I'm your uncle. I'd never seen him before. I hadn't got a clue who he was. And he says, you're coming to live with us? I was really scared because I didn't know the people. They'd just got one daughter. And I thought, well, what's going to happen to me, you know? By the time I reached probably about 11 or 12, I was in the local fish and chip shop. And I overheard two ladies talking, and they were sort of nodding in my direction. Oh, that's the little girl whose mum and dad and sisters got killed. So I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I ran over home, and I said to my auntie, is that true, what I've just heard, that mum and dad are dead? And she just said yes. So I just ran upstairs, and I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and I thought, I'm never going to see them again, you know. It was terrible. It really was.
How
Again?
How long was it until you met your sister?
Time went on, and I just asked my auntie and uncle about my sisters, my two elder sisters. And they did eventually find them all. But we've never had anything in common because we've all been split up.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm an actor, but when you hear stories like that, you realise that real life can be much more raw and emotional than any drama. I want to end my journey with a visit to the Tree of Life, a monument that those ladies campaigned to have put on public display. On its base are the names of the victims of Birmingham's Blitz, including Barbara Johnson's grandparents.
Oh, there they are. Names of her grandfather and grandmother. Having met Barbara yesterday and held the pictures of her grandparents, I have some kind of physical connection to it. So, yeah, it's quite moving when you think about it. I've recognised there really is a tough resolve of people in this city. And you look at how modern it is now, you look around and see how it's continuing to evolve and continuing to grow, and it just makes you feel enormously proud that not only have we come through an incredibly traumatic experience, but we continue to move forward. It makes you feel enormously proud. And I think we owe that generation of people a tremendous debt of gratitude because they showed incredible strength. And if it weren't for them, perhaps, you know, we would maybe be facing a very, very different history.
Why do you whisper, green grass? Why tell the trees what ain't so? Whispering grass, the trees don't have